Good morning, gang. Happy Saturday morning. Okay, as we plod on along, get into the weekend. For me, it's planting beets today. Uh, just the craziness is continuing and finding out some of this stuff. It comes as no surprise to anybody that there's a war on a internal combustion engine, right? That the Biden administration is hell bent on putting us all into useless electric cars. We've seen all the stories on cars not operating in hot weather, cars not operating in cold weather, can't tow, can't do anything for any sort of distance. You know, there was a funny one a week or so ago where, a guy came up and said, my Tesla will go from Los Angeles to New York on $300 worth of charge in a battery. Look how great it is. And the responses were overwhelmingly going, yeah, and my Honda Civic can go across the country in $300 worth of gasoline. It's like, no, it's not saving you any money. It's just costing you 50% more for an EV. Oh, that we're saving the planet, the climate change, everything. And you go read uh, reports from chemical engineers from the amount of energy generated from electricity versus the amount of energy generated from a gasoline powered car. You talk about the emissions. You talk about the whopping 4.6% of electricity in the United States that is generated from wind and solar, or the 69% of energy that is generated from fossil fuel burning plants, whether it's coal or natural gas or petroleum or whatever. Okay. You could talk about all the mining that has to be done for lithium and the diesel powered tractors, bulldozers, backhoes, whatever, mining equipment that's got to be used, the damage to the environment by that. Those things all kind of get forgotten. It's all talking about what the end user does. And again, this goes right back into the idiocy of these people. Again, it's like AOC. Meat comes from grocery stores, right? They don't think about all the stuff that happens before it gets there. Same thing with the EVs. Well, we now have some more information that y'all need to be aware of. And I've talked a couple of times about making sure you have extra parts to do maintenance on your vehicle. Apparently, we now have 9 states that are going to completely ban the sale of gasoline powered cars by 2035. That's 10 years, guys. Okay. So if you're buying a car now, chances are it'll still be on the road in 10 years. Now, these proposals are not banning the sale of used cars, and they're not saying they're going to take out all the gas stations in these states, but that's coming shortly thereafter. Okay. They're all saying that you can buy a car in another state and then bring it in and register it, provided it meets our emission standards, which of course the emission standards are going to be zero. So for all intents and purposes, they are going to ban gasoline powered cars in 10 years, or at least are planning on it, in the following states: Washington, Oregon, California, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and the surprising one, Pennsylvania. Yeah, you can pretty much write those states off for anybody living there in 10 years. Okay. Because unless you live in the downtown cities, would that be maybe a 15-minute city that they're planning? You need some sort of transportation to go somewhere. Yeah, okay. The Northeast, it gets cold there in the winter. So I guess the plan for everybody up there should be, don't plan on leaving your house between October and March, because your car's not going to run. Right? I mean, maybe even you said November and February. Okay, even then, for 4 months, I kind of need to go to work, go to the grocery store, do anything like that, where I need to buy stuff. But hey, if you live in New York City, you can walk, you can take the subway. Don't think about taking a cab, because that's not going to happen. But this is what we're looking at in regards to the future under the idiotic policies coming out of this administration. Now, it gets even better than this, because if we look at another article, which I will post below that you guys can take a look at. What are tires made of? Automobile tires, your rubber. They're made of petroleum products, right? Now, all those other things that we like, everything that's plastic, they kind of forget about that. It's all about the cars. But so let's talk about tires. Tires are made of rubber. Yeah, we have a slight problem here. In some EVs, they are chewing through tires like crazy. You bought tires lately? I have, okay. Cost me $2,000 to put new tires on my truck. Now, granted, it's a truck, okay? But I don't know. We could be talking about the Tesla truck. We could be talking about a Rivian. Oh, a Rivian. You know what the average lifespan of a set of tires on a Rivian truck is? 6,000 miles. Yeah. So that means you have to change your tires, average driver, twice a year. It's like a freaking oil change. Except it cost you $2,000 because of the ridiculous amount of weight that all these batteries put on. Now, you do have Goodyear and Michelin and some of the tire makers that are making tires specifically for EVs, obviously, that hopefully will last longer. But now we're talking about more petroleum products, more fossil fuels that need to be used to go through these tires like crazy. It just amazes me that everything they are trying to sell the American public or sell the world on these EVs is not there. It doesn't do anything in regards to emissions at all if you go from beginning to end. If you take the little sliver out at the end and go, oh, Joe Average, the consumer won't be putting as much CO2, which of course, as we all know, is needed for plants. Okay, but talk about pollution. And you all go back to the 1970s and remember how cars were, the exhaust from cars. Okay, go down to Mexico and smell the exhaust out of cars. But catalytic converters and the capture systems and everything like that, you don't have those problems anymore. We don't have massive exhaust clouds coming from most vehicles. I mean, sure, diesel trucks, you still get them, I get it. But we don't have those issues. We solved that. But how are we going to generate the electricity? How are we going to make tires? Or all the plastic? How do you think electricity is transported throughout each one of those EV cars? Through wires that are sheathed in what? Plastic. We have to get rid of all the weight in a car to make them more fuel efficient, right? How did we do that? We got rid of the steel and made more aluminum and plastic. If you go from the amount of energy, the amount, that is used, the amount of petroleum products that is used to make a car from beginning to end, from the mining of materials to making of plastics, etc., 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 to the end result, there's no difference in the amount of pollutants that are put in the air. This is all a big money grab. It's all for Joe to sell U.S. industry to China. Again, remember, that's where pretty much all the solar components come from, all the EV components come from. Joe is trying to put domestic car making out of business. You already have had Ford, GM, Chrysler have all said, we can't sell these things. We're cutting back on production of them. We're dropping the prices on them. I mean, there's EVs that are sitting on the lots right now. They've cut the price on them 30% because they can't sell them. Nobody wants them. They want 100% of these states to sell electric cars. I think last year it was 2023, 6% or 8% of the cars in the United States that were sold were EVs. The people don't want them. And we can see why. They're doing more damage to the world, the climate, the economy, the livelihoods of people than anything else. But if you live in those aforementioned 9 states, I hope to God you are making plans to get out, because it's going to be the same as everything else. The last one in California or New York or Massachusetts, please turn out the lights if there's any electricity to run them. Pinball out.